James, I'm looking at these pictures here, and this first one over to your far right is a child, a young child in a white dress.
That's I think speaking earlier about painting, sort of, I kind of whittle on a bit, and that was one that I started, and it laid around the studio for a long time. I think I may have started it back when I was living in Greensboro, actually, and give you an idea how old it was, or is, and it just didn't do much for me, so I kind of went wild with taking it to an extreme that I didn't really plan to, but I wanted it to have some punch. So I just sort of darkened it. The background is completely changed. The sky is sort of a night, has a night feel to it.
Right.
And I wanted a real stark feel about it.
Yeah.
Just, that this girl is all by herself.
Well, it's a beautiful picture. What about this one with the bucket up here? It looks like there's
that's, yeah.
dismembered bird.
Yeah, it is. And I just had this idea of painting this bird, and I love the contrast of textures with the feathers against the metal, the hard, cold metal. And it just sort of got into, and it has sort of a, as you can tell, sort of a Wyethie feel.
Yeah.
And it has the house in the upper part of the painting, which Wyeth was always wild about taking your perspective, like in Christina's World, that painting
right.
where you're down at the figure and then you're swept into the horizon line, way up, almost like a bird swooping down and seeing this and then picking itself back up and looking, So it was that kind of a thing.
Let me ask you now, if we can go down here. There's a man in a military uniform, looks like World War I probably.
Yeah, that's my grandfather. And what got me into doing that painting was I had actually, when I was in school, we took a sort of a road trip to go over to I think it was a little museum in Old Salem, and there was a showing of Ward Nichols and Bob Timberlake and that kind of thing, and Ward had this very sort of and still does this sort of Trumley oil feel to his paintings, where fool the eye, the real, like you wanted to grab the thing. And I was intrigued when I first started painting about doing that, making it, like you could grab the wallpaper and rip it off, and plus I'd seen a painting done completely in black and white, which I thought was extremely cool, and I thought, well, what if you combine a black and white painting within a color painting, and that was my way of doing it.
Who's this man in the blue down here? For some reason, he reminds me of your grandfather.
That is actually a good friend of mine's dad, and I had done a couple of actual real portraits of him. But I just liked the shapes, and so I was working with his face, and I didn't like it, so I just basically sort of mashed out the face, scraped it with a palette knife, but it still has the feel.
You have suggestions of features.
Yeah, you can
suggested
tell
eyebrows, but you don't get the whole detail, and yet
it
creates the impression.
The good thing about that is someone can put themselves in that scene. They can live in that painting.
Leave it to the viewer to
fill in the blank. Yeah, I'm much more into now trying to leave more to the imagination and letting people carry with, and my painting has gotten looser. And speaking of that, the one in the lower, if we're facing it, lower left of the church, that's down here, that's the most recent thing, and you can see how loose and expressive that is, and that's the direction I'm heading in and want to head in. It's just I don't want to keep traveling down the same roads.
Yeah, you want to keep growing.
Yeah, I remember hearing Joni Mitchell make a remark music versus painting. He says the good thing about painting, you can kind of move on to something else, but people they didn't say to Van Gogh, paint another Starry Night.
That's true.
You know,
That one's like you're looking through a rainy glass.
and I literally was doing that sitting in my car in the SUV in the church parking lot at is it Methodist Church? It's near, it's kind of used to be diagonal where Catawba Coffee used to be.
Yeah, that's Methodist.
Yeah. I get them mixed up, but I love churches in terms of the architectural structure. I've always been intrigued by nice shapes.
Well, James, I appreciate you taking time to
Oh man, it's a pleasure.
come up here and to talk about this beautiful work that you've created. And I hope you keep doing it and create a whole lot more.
Well, I hope to. I'm going to start my dog series, and we'll start with this one.
You'll start with Spider-Man. He's kind of a spooky guy.
Sweet doggy.
Well,
Sweet doggy.
Thank you, James, for coming out.
Oh man, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me here.
Be looking for you down the road.